Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It is Thursday night, December 2nd, 2021, 8:57 p.m. to be exact. You might be listening to this on Friday the 3rd in the morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it might be, or some other time. Who knows? My name is Jake Luke. I'm joined on my screen by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz, taking a nice little swig out of his mug there as we get going here for Steelers week. Big rivalry week. How we feeling?
Steelers week, baby. Let's go. We've been waiting a long time for this one. Much anticipation. I feel like there's been a little bit of a lull in the rivalry. Some bad blood kind of kicks back last year. The matinee game, the early game that the Steelers win in Baltimore. Chase Claypool talking some shit after that one a little bit. Losing? Never heard of her. Pretty sure they've lost like, I don't know, 11 out of lost or tied 11 out of like 16 or 17 since then. So losing, you've heard of her, Mr. Maple Odell, whatever the hell people were calling him at one point. TJ Watt out. I read a Mark Sessler article, said he was out. I don't know if that's super official, but I guess so. So they probably are going to be without Joe Hayden and TJ Watt and getting a little bit of taste of their own fucking medicine with the Ravens having to play them with literally no one active and the Ravens still playing up to par, which is why this is a little slippery. All these guys could be out. And as the reporters love to ask, you can throw the records out on this one. And some weird stuff happens. So very excited, very pumped. Was thinking about going to this game. Don't feel like it ultimately right now, but excited, man. Very excited. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling, it definitely, it's lost a little bit of luster, I think, just in the fact that like there hasn't been a really meaningful game played between them in a long time, I think. So that's probably the main factor for me. It's just like these teams are so used to, or at least in the past, we're so used to being the two teams in the conference behind the Patriots that were kind of vying for that second seed. It's been a long time since then. I feel like everyone kind of talks about the fact that the players are different now. They're younger and they have different mindsets and there's not really as much hatred. I feel like, there's probably something to that. There's something to generational differences, but I also think there would be some hatred if they were playing each other in more meaningful games. And this is probably as meaningful as they've had in the Lamar Jackson era between these two. I don't really know what the NFL's insistence on not making these into night games are. I think they're really trying to push this whole, or at least we're trying to push this whole Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson rivalry thing, where you get, the primetime game against the Browns, and then you don't get any against Joe Burrow and the Bengals or the Steelers this year. I find that a little bit strange. But there's some consequences here. I mean, the Steelers it would probably be a little more consequential if they maybe had at least one more win and one more loss ticked out of their loss boxes. But they're kind of a floundering 500 type middling team here. Feels like the Ravens have a chance to put a nail in a coffin. And feels like a loss for the Ravens. It would hurt, but it wouldn't be like catastrophic. So it's still not like super high stakes, but it's probably as high stakes as it's been since Lamar's been the starter at least. So there's some juice. I tweeted the other day that TJ Watt is probably my least favorite player of this current iteration of the Steelers, minus the guy who plays quarterback for them. But he's not going to play. Some other guys on this team that I actually kind of like. I like Joe Hayden. I don't know. I like and have a lot of respect for Mike Tomlin. He annoys me at times. But yeah, it's a little bit different. It's not as consequential as usual, but overall, feels like a relatively big game.
Certainly is. The Ravens have an opportunity to move up into a really strong 9-3 with a win here, and reeling off a couple divisional wins would be super crucial. And at that point, 9-3, I don't want to say you can kind of sit back and relax, because they could, lose some games there, continuing to play divisional games, and the Packers and the Rams wedged in there. But got to think if they're able to get to that point, they're sitting pretty. Got a pretty strong hold on the division and able to at least secure like the 5 seed at worst. I know that, projections are projections and all that crap, FPI, DVOA, everything. FPI, I think, gives the Ravens like a 60% chance at getting a 1 through 4 seed. In other words, winning the division. They've got pretty good odds to be a 1 or a 2 seed as well. So ultimately, the Ravens have a chance to kind of rebound offensively in this one off of a super sloppy performance, a couple super sloppy performances And at some point, you just gotta have that glass half full that eventually both sides of the ball will come together again and maybe be able to string it together for a couple of weeks in a row. And they have an opportunity to do so here with a Browns team that didn't really threaten them and a Steelers team that's beat up, lacks kind of any sort of diversity offensively. So things have swung many times in the offense's direction. I think Jeff's Reback ends up putting out an article saying that Lamar Jackson's bailed the defense out a ton this year and they return the favor Sunday, which I think is definitely on point. So Lamar Jackson, very aware of how sucky he was and coming off of, there's some small excuses that can be made, but at the end of the day, a lot of the same issues are rearing their head that we saw last year when they hit that kind of shitty point and end up having a, near 500 record where he's hesitating, he's thinking too much, or he's trying to be too quick. It's like Goldilocks, man. He's too hot, he's too cold, the ball's out too quickly, or he's holding it too long. He's, it almost kind of reminds me of some of the troubles Patrick Queen had, where he's playing too fast and then he's playing too slow. And hopefully he's able to find that just right, that Goldilocks persona. And me and you both, I think going back a while, I know that I've been on this train for a while. I've been predicting the Ravens would sweep the Steelers this year. I think it's time for Lamar Jackson to go nuclear on their asses. Hasn't happened yet. I know that a lot of Yinzers think that Lamar Jackson kind of sucks because they're true Yinzers and only watch Steelers games. And Steelers have done a good job against him. So it's going to be fun to see what happens. He's had a couple weeks now with Duvernay and Watkins and Bateman and Hollywood Brown. I guess Brown's missed a little time and Duvernay's missed a little bit of time as well. But these guys are relatively healthy, able to get some practice reps in on a consistent basis for a couple weeks in a row. So hopefully it's able to surmount into something awesome.
Yeah, I think I feel I'd probably be a little bit more excited, I think, to that point if in this past game, give me 1 second. Sorry, just had to close my door there. But I would probably feel a little more juiced up if in this past game against the Browns, Lamar had played a little bit better and the offense had looked a little bit better, particularly Lamar. Like the turnovers were tough and it was a bad performance, frankly. And they were probably, I wouldn't say lucky to get out of there with a win, but if any sort of other competent offense had shown up to play against them, you're really flirting with not doing so. And I'm curious to get your perspective. What did you feel walking out of the stadium on Sunday night? Because for me, like we've been to pretty much every home game. I think I've missed one this year, the Vikings game. But you talk about going to the Kansas City game, talk about going to that Colts game. The way they ended and the way I walked out of that stadium, and that's a very high bar. But like I'm walking out of the stadium this past Sunday night, and there's people around me getting the usual chants going and, fuck the Browns and fuck Baker Mayfield. And it's just like, that's great. Like, if you guys want to do that, like go to it and have fun. But I just couldn't muster it. I couldn't muster the fake bravado, or at least it would have been fake in my case. So I didn't even attempt to. I kind of just, I was satisfied with a win. I walked out and that's what it was. But I wasn't particularly juiced up after that win. And I think that's carrying over a little bit. And, they certainly, I don't know if I say they fully have the talent to beat the Steelers, but I think they have a much better, or at least a much higher potential offense than the Steelers do right now. So it wouldn't totally shock me. But I'm kind of at a point now where Lamar has played like one good half of football in like a month. So let's, I kind of want to, let's show me here. Let's show me on the road in a tough environment against a talented and spot defense. Let's see it.
For sure. We can let's kind of break off into, I guess, coordinators had some comments, and I think all of this goes hand in hand with where our discussion has gone. And Greg Roman having a couple words about, throughout the week following the game, Lamar Jackson is fully accountable. I hate it. It pissed me off. It sucks. I would look like a rookie, which I think really was the best way to put it. He did look like a rookie. He looked like a rookie on a really good team. And so often this year, he's been the really good quarterback on a team that looks average. And it was kind of the exact opposite. Myles Garrett, made some plays. They stuffed the run a little bit. But Lamar, the interceptions are one thing. And don't get me wrong. I mean, the one where Grant Delpit comes down and he just misses him, like we've seen that shit before. He's missed robbers before. It happened against the Steelers last year. He had a similar game to what he had this past week against the Steelers in Baltimore last year. and they were able to score a little bit more points. They had Dobbins, who was really hurting them, and they were push the ball downfield a little bit more effectively at times. Some weird calls. The Steelers always get everything, but anyway, he did look like a rookie. He came back from the sickness. I don't want to use that as an excuse, but there were just so many missed opportunities and missed throws. And I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again. I always like to, preface everything. I'm not trying to be somebody. They're not playing Madden. You can't see all 4 receivers at once. Sometimes there's a guy open and it's away from where the read went. And, the guy was just running coverage off and the quarterback's not looking there. Holy crap. I have like the Cameron Diaz. There's something about Mary going on right now in my hair, but he just missed so many things. Rashad Bateman is flying around the ball, doesn't get the ball deep at all, really failed to push the ball. There's the throwaway to Devin, Devin Duvernay is like 20 yards uncovered. I've highlighted some of this stuff on Twitter, and I could see some of that happening while I was in the stadium. So those were the irritating points, and it feels like there's so many missed layups for explosive plays, and instead it's grinding these drives and check down and run and scramble and grind and first down and then another first down and then another first down on third down and fourth down and all this stuff. And they're just making it so much more difficult than it needs to be. And a lot of that comes back to Lamar. It's just like when there's no pressure, he feels like he just can't get it right now. And Greg Roman has comments about it, about using Devin Duvernay, and they've got more in the vault and they want to be able to kind of pace themselves and unleash things. He also has accountability for Lamar, says he was really ticked off, and no, we never want to turn the ball over like that. And I know that some people are kind of like wanting Harbaugh and Roman and coaches to kind of take a stand and be like, it was unacceptable. We expect more out of our quarterback, like something like that. But when Lamar just immediately comes and is like, I sucked. I look like a rookie. I need to go back to practice right now. I'm going to be watching film right now. I let my team down. The defense bailed me out. I need to be better. What else is there to fucking say? But at the same time, saying that is one thing. We've heard him say this so many times. Just when is the consistency going to come right now? Because I'm just watching the same things that I watched last year. The same problems. Ronnie Stanley's not there. The tackles, they don't have Orlando Brown, but the tackle situation's weird. Everybody wants to blame the offensive line. It's like, how long can we keep going on this without adjusting, without Lamar being able to get the ball out on time, making the right reads, all these things. And it's just continued horse wrenches in the machine where it's like he misses some training camp and then he's been sick 3 times this year and he misses practice. And it's like nothing can just go smoothly. It is the rockiest of Rocky Road ice cream right now. And you look at the injury report today, and I feel like you're probably in agreement with me because I saw you like it. But the injury report for the 15th consecutive practice is like, I don't know, 16 guys long, 18 guys long. At this point, it just feels like they can't have any more injuries. And that if you feel sore in any way, take the day off, rest. We need you on Sunday. We can't afford to play without you. They need everybody healthy. So reps feel like they're probably limited. The intensity of practice, which at this point in the year for all NFL teams is usually very low because it is a violent sport. You've already put in the work in training camp. Guys are banged up. But I think the Ravens are going extra precautionary, and I don't blame them for that at all. So it just feels like it's hard to get in the real reps, the real actual reps that are going to translate. And they didn't have the most continuous training camp. So I just don't know where to go, but it's like nothing can just go right all the way. The Chargers game it did, but Lamar didn't even have a great game against the Chargers. Like threw a couple picks there, the run game worked really well. He was part of that, but I don't know. It's just a series of unfortunate events. I don't know what else to say about it at this point. On days where, it feels like Greg Roman's having a shitty day, sequencing plays together, they struggle, and it feels like there's that. And then days where Lamar doesn't play well, and days where the offensive line kind of holds everything down a little bit and plays like a solid game, Lamar's inaccurate or not playing his best game, or vice versa. He's doing against the Raiders, he's doing his best and lighting it up, but the offensive line's getting ripped apart and preventing him from being able to be continuous. So it's just something's always wrong, and we're just waiting for it to even back out. I feel like, especially even on the defensive side of the football, there's just this weird juju around this team, and mentioning Juju going to Steelers week apropos, but defensively, that Marlon Humphrey quote from like 3 weeks ago just keeps sticking with me. And there's all these stats circulating. The Ravens lead are the worst team in the NFL in terms of passing yards allowed per game. And then there's the most 40-yard plays allowed. And Marlon Humphrey said it best. Every time they make a mistake, it's a fucking touchdown. And then on offense, it's like every time nothing can just, they never get those 40-yard plays. Whenever something goes right, like Lamar doesn't see it, or someone misjudges the route, or like something. I don't know. It's just a very weird situation overall.
Yeah, I think a couple. I mean, a lot of stuff there. I think you covered a lot of it really well, and I think to the people that were kind of saying like, "Oh, I want to see accountability and X, Y, and Z." Let me tell you something. There's accountability going on. Lamar is hearing about it in meeting rooms. I think. I don't know this necessarily, but I think that's what's going on in the meeting rooms. He is being held accountable, but there's a little thing that John Harbaugh, who is a emotionally intelligent leader, and let me tell you something. I'm not the oldest person in the world, but I've been around the block once or twice, and I happen to know that, or at least in my opinion, which I think is right, emotional intelligence is the only important, or not the only important, but the most important aspect of leadership. It is more important than just straight up intelligence. And that's what John Harbaugh is. He's an emotionally intelligent leader, and he knows a little thing about something called praise in public, punishment in private. And I think he's lighting into Lamar a little bit about this kind of stuff. I think Roman is doing that in a respectful way, nothing crazy, but they're having those conversations, and I think people are being held accountable. So I don't think we need to like go too crazy about that. And then I think to your point about like some of the off the field stuff, like I think you presented it as no excuses, and like, yeah, I agree. And like, that's not only the company line, but also kind of the reality, but also like, it kind of is an explanation, at least. Like, I think if you look at, let's take a look at his past like 5 weeks here. So week 7, you head into week 7 at 5-1. You play the Bengals, you get smoked. So you go into the bye week at 5-2. You come out of the bye week, you play like shit in the first half against the Vikings at home. You go to this up-tempo offense, looks completely different. You go on and win that game in a completely wild effort. 4 days later, you go down to Miami. You get your shit pushed in by a bad team. Awful. The next week, you, and in this case, I'm talking specifically about the quarterback, contracts some weird virus after being in Louisville. He flies to Louisville. That's, his thing. He can do that if he wants to. And but it does kind of take the energy out of you a little bit as a human, and then the sickness that maybe you potentially contracted when you were doing that took some energy out of you. It certainly seemed to, when you have to go to Chicago and you can't play a game because you're whatever,
run down,
puking his guts out or whatever, but he's like passing out on the plane and stuff, and it's just like really effective. Third string undrafted quarterback. They win that. You come back into the lineup, and this is the Browns game, and it's another night game, and they've played in, at this point, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you've played in 4 night games up to this point. And so you play the Browns game. This is another night game, and you've been sick like 3 times this year already. Like, I don't know about you. I can't even, and I'm a little bit of a bitch, so like so I don't want to like speak for Lamar, but like I can't even function at work when I'm like sick or like a little bit hungover or whatever. Like I personally can't. So like the fact that he's going to go out there and like be the best athlete in the world and like perform against the best athletes in the world at his absolute best, I think I can maybe see where he's coming from a little bit, where he's a tick slow on a read there. He makes the wrong decision here. And people say like tip passes aren't, oh, that's not fair to like call that like his fault on an interception. I mean, sometimes like you just make a bad throw and like it gets tipped because of it, and you kind of can place blame there. So it's just a big confluence of things, a big fuck pie, as Kendall Roy would say, that nobody is, it's kind of hard to completely fully point to any one thing as the issue, but it just feels like a perfect storm of a lot of different things that have been going wrong. But ultimately you're 8-3. And I think to your point about like wanting to see consistency, I totally get it. But also to, I guess, maybe color some positivity in. I think we've seen this passing offense this season specifically at the best we've ever seen it with this quarterback. So it's in there. Like it's in there, and like it's volatile, and that's a little bit concerning, but it can be achieved. So that still provides me some comfort, and I'd be interested to see if they can unlock that over the next couple of weeks.
Certainly. And there's just variance. I mean, it's a sport with a ball where there's violence involved, and that's why I'm really enjoying these. Like 2021 is like the year of the run haters doubting themselves for the first time in a couple of years. And there's these like big brain conversations going on about running efficiency and marrying the run to the pass and trying to put metrics on it and all of these things. And then you see guys like Mitchell Schwartz come in and they're just like, man, like, please listen to what Brandon Staley said a couple months ago. Like, there is a violent part of this sport that you can't put in an EPA formula that can account for the way things go and what that does. Like, momentum isn't quantifiable, but it's fucking real. These kinds of things where play calling, sequencing, playing to your strengths, being able to be physical, being able to be violent. Like, it feels like the Ravens are capable of being physical and violent.
I was still told that it's not real despite that argument by myriad accounts.
Exactly. So, you know, there's all this variance and to that consistency is just like, it would be nice to find, but the silver lining in all of this, or the good parts in all of this. Buddy's on his phone. Buddy's on his phone. What is going on? Jake's bringing up onto the screen for those of you that are watching. Jake, read the tweets. Just prime Marlon just chiming in here.
Yeah, so sorry to kind of jump in on you here, but I was scrolling Twitter and one Marlon Humphrey tweets 4 minutes ago, power went out mid-shower and I don't know what to do. So he's on his phone, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And then he immediately follows it up a minute later. But on another note, I'm about to dump 10 ETH on 2 NFT projects. This emoji, the hand on the chin. Which two?
Some monkeys, I'm guessing. Some freaking sick monkeys, I guess. I don't know. Thank you, Marlon. We needed that.
We needed that. It's truly in his own world. I love him.
Him being wired, like, you had to enjoy that so much.
Oh, yeah. I got to check that out still, actually. I saw the clips.
Oh, there you go. There's your nightcap. Watching Marlon scream for 7 straight minutes.
Saving it. I'm going to crack a beer and light a candle and just kind of settle in. Enjoy that.
Yeah, put it on the big screen. Marlon just screaming for 7 minutes on Ravens Wired and saying some ridiculous stuff.
He really doesn't need coffee, does he?
He seriously doesn't need coffee. I feel like he would have like an Adderall type effect. Like, I feel like he would have to go like work in a Verizon Wireless if he started drinking coffee. Like, it would chill him out to the point where he would become like a, you know, white collar standard. He would probably do software sales, SaaS. He would probably get into SaaS software sales, you know, start, you know, eating acai bowls for lunch and trying to like count his cows throughout the day. And
I feel like he would become like Billy McFarland's friend in the Firefest documentary. The guy that was just clearly on cocaine. It was like, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it and be legends. Let's do Firefest, and that just created a serious storm of events for a lot of different people. I feel like that could be a potential path for Marlon to take when this whole football thing is over.
Exactly. Yeah, Marlon. I can see Marlon getting into like event planning and like all kinds of stuff. He's gonna have that weird little, whatever his bungalow down in Alabama is called, set up. Who knows what's going to go on down there, but
no, not Ja Rule, Cody.
No, not Ja Rule. Not Ja Rule.
I mean, Cody, Ja Rule, but Billy McFarland has this one friend that I specifically remember in that. I don't know if it was the Netflix or the Hulu documentary that I watched, but they had those two come out at that time. And like Billy McFarland has this like squirrely friend with like glasses. It's like just one of the stranger characters in a very strange story.
Exactly. But speaking of Marlon, he's been ultra physical. You know, this defense, I wanted to get into the silver linings of what we've seen. There's the lack of consistency, but there's the high consistency of finishing. And guys like Tyus Bowser stepping up, Marlon Humphrey stepping up. You know, Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, late in games, we need to catch a couple passes. Rashad Bateman getting some defensive pass interferences. Like, this defense has been able to finish the last 2 weeks. You see Odafe Owe, Justin Houston, and Tyus Bowser are fucking sick right now. The three of them rotating cleanly. Usually 2 of them are on the field. At least one of them always is, pretty much. And they are wrecking shop consistently against the run, against the pass, making plays in coverage. You know, somebody's getting pressure. Like, there are so few snaps between that trio where 2 of them or 3 of them are on the field and there isn't a pressure by one of them right now. They're in their bag right now. This defense has made major strides. They still are letting up some big dumb plays a little bit, but you know, the Browns hit a couple shots. Like, the Browns had good calls against the Ravens defense. It was just like cover 3 or cover 1 beaters that worked out well, and they didn't get any pressure because the Ravens had Ellis and Williams in and things of that nature, but they're tackling better. They're taking better angles. Brandon Stevens was kind of getting picked on a little bit last week, comes up and makes a play. So I think this defense is definitely starting to gel. The offense has kind of taken a backseat a little bit, and that takes some of the pressure off. So it's like they're not playing complimentary football, but there's very rarely a break on both sides of the ball. Someone is always holding, the boat afloat, so to speak. So to have that confidence right now feels fantastic. The Ravens still remain defensively the number 1 team in terms of third down conversion rate allowed and touchdowns allowed in the red zone percentage wise, as they're also allowing, a shit ton of 40-yard plays and stuff. I called it the break or be broken defense instead of Dean Pease bend but don't break. And it's been fun to watch this defense the last couple of weeks. They're kind of fighting a little bit of competition that's kind of got a hand tied behind their back. It hasn't been the best offenses in the world. They haven't really played a high caliber offense since, I guess, if you want to call the Vikings that. They can definitely do some damage, put up some points, but they did that in the first half and shut them down in the second half. So it's been a fun defense to watch. They're going to continue to get to build confidence against the Steelers team that is ailing offensively. They're without Kevin Dotson, their best offensive lineman. Roethlisberger very limited, and then defensively, the Steelers are kind of down shit creek without a paddle right now. So they're going to get another week again against the Browns. So it's a good time for this defense to really work all these bugs out, and they've been doing that. So I don't know. This Ravens team has just been so interesting to watch over time, and all of the kind of highs and lows that they've had on both sides of the ball and different players and guys that have played really well, guys that have played really poorly. It's just been, from an entertainment value, if you're like probably, Jonah Schaefer or Jeff Z or Jameson, who like aren't actually fans of this team, but watch them all the time, they're a very fun team to watch because of the variance and because of the inconsistency and because of the highs and lows. Like, this has been a very dramatic season so far, and they've managed to navigate it to 8-3. So there's a lot of good and a lot of bad and a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's where I'm not trying to be like super negative, and it's kind of just like we've mentioned to an extent, and I think we were really in this spot before the Chicago game, like directly before it. Just kind of enjoy the ride. Just buy a ticket, get into the car, and strap that seatbelt in because it's a ride. And that's very much what it is here. It does feel like a team that is punching above its weight, talent-wise. I don't think that would be the case if they were fully healthy, but that's just not the case this year, and it feels like, to an extent, if they're not being carried by one aspect, to your point, they're being carried by another, whether it's coaching, whether it's their quarterback, who, despite some of his struggles, is still an excellent player and is helping a lot in the running game, whether it is their defense to an extent, like some of the young talent that they have on defense, like Owe making big plays in big spots. It kind of seems like more often than not, they've had an answer to whatever the issue is that week. And it's to what you've talked about before with Flubber, what we've talked about with Bruce Lee, be water. Feels like they're water at times. So it's pretty cool to watch.
Certainly. And again, like Bowser, Owe, and Houston is like a Christmas carol. It's like past, present, and future right now with those guys playing on all cylinders. And they're doing an outstanding job. I just think this defense is playing with so much rhythm. And talking about the Steelers, this is the team that, the Steelers had some successful drives aided by penalties in Baltimore. They go play them in that matinee game. And the Ravens understood that they could take away some of these concepts. The Steelers love to run mesh, where it's 2 crossers underneath running shallow routes. Usually it forces a defender to commit. Then you get Deontay Johnson or Claypool or the tight end the ball quickly underneath. And we saw the Ravens with a ragtag group start dropping edges off away from like trips and completely take that away, force Ben Roethlisberger to hold the ball, doing a lot of things, playing 5 under zones where Roethlisberger was forced to try to throw over the middle of the field and deep, and he really lacks the anticipation or the arm velocity right now to be able to do so. So then the following week, after the Ravens really shockingly held the Steelers in check, I think the Steelers were 11-0 at that point, and then they go to Washington, get their butts whooped by the Washington football team. Chase Young, after the game, his first comment is Baltimore laid down the blueprint on how to beat them. So I think they have the number of this one-dimensional Steelers offense right now, and they're going to be able to hold them in check again. Deontay Johnson, a dangerous player. Chase Claypool has a ton of ability. Najee Harris, I've talked about him a ton. I love that dude. Freiermuth has been balling a little bit, but they just have to play with such limitations. Their run game, pathetic. They don't get any, they don't win at the line of scrimmage. They don't create any drive. Najee Harris, I think, has been under like 4 yards a carry like 5 times this year because of it. And then Roethlisberger just can't really do damage over the middle of the field, can't move around much. And the Ravens haven't played a quarterback that really can't move much in quite a while. Baker may be the most, I guess Kirk Cousins, but Baker hobbled a little bit and things of that nature. So I think this Ravens defense is really going to be able to have their way with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. It's going to be an interesting game, I think. And what is interesting to your point is these injury reports. So we take a look at the Ravens, and I'm just going to read them all. Tight end Nick Boyle, knee, did not participate. CB Marlon Humphrey, illness, did not participate. That's not good that the power went out. Tackle Cedric Abui, thigh, did not participate. OLB Odafe Ewe, shoulder, did not participate. Fullback Patrick Ricard, foot/thigh, did not participate. Tackle Alejandro de Villanueva, NIL arrest, okay, did not participate. Corner Chris Westry, thigh, did not participate. Nose tackle Brandon Williams, rest, did not participate. Cornerback Tavon Young, illness, did not participate. What's going on in this cornerback room? Cornerback Anthony Averett, shoulder/ankle, limited participation. Wide receiver Miles Boykin, he's still alive, apparently. Fingered, limited participation. Wide receiver Devin Davarnay, thigh, limited participation. Outside linebacker Jalen Ferguson, illness, limited participation. Offensive line Patrick McCarry, ankle, limited participation. Bradley Bozeman, shin laceration, full participation. You never want a lacerated shin. DT Calais Campbell, concussion, full participation. Great to see him back. Linebacker Patrick Queen, rib, full participation. Shout out to Marilyn Manson. Cornerback Jimmy Smith, neck, full participation. That's the Ravens. Steelers looking a little bit healthier. As of today, December 2nd, Ben Roethlisberger, pec right shoulder, full participation. Joe Hayden, foot, did not participate. Yep. I love that. Trey Turner on the offensive line, coach's decision, full participation. Okay. Zach Banner also on the offensive line, an illness as well, did not participate. Chase Claypool, toe, full participation. Probably just listening to some absolute bangers out there on the practice field. Long snapper, Christian Kuntz, hip, full. Tight end Pat Freiermuth, concussion, full. CB Arthur Millett, quad, did not participate. And defensive end Isaiah Buggs, ankle, limited. So I wonder if that long snapper Christian Kuntz has a brother. But yeah, I guess yeah, so it looks like this
Varney.
Looks like yeah, okay. I got us a little off the rails there, but looks like Steelers a lot healthier than the yeah,
Kareem Hunt's brother.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt and another gentleman by the name of Mike, his brother. So so the Ravens we're getting a lot of mileage out of that. Much more off the air.
The tread on those tires, those are Duralast 100,000 mile tires we got there. That's going to tickle me by surprise every time.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, Steelers a lot healthier than the Ravens. You mentioned we are so childish. You mentioned Roethlisberger and Hayden as kind of the two, but obviously Ben is going to play. He looked hurt playing against the Bengals because he looked, frankly, like shit. And Joe Hayden's kind of the other big one. Then Freiermuth, that's kind of a big one too for what they've been doing with him recently, but it sounds like he's fine. So
Freiermuth can go up and get the ball. He's been definitely impressive. I likened him to a moose with hops during the draft process. He's been scoring some tutties, doing some things. Steelers also, though, I mean, people, those guys are out. TJ Watt, I guess, is out. Would it shock me if he ends up playing on Sunday through some bullshit? Absolutely not. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They figure it out and get dumb breaks all the time. But no Stephon Tuitt really this year. No Tyson Alualu this year. Really, Cam Hayward's the dude up front. Alex Highsmith can make some plays, but you're going to be able to kind of shade over and worry about him a little bit more. And then Cam Hayward, you're going to be able to throw the kitchen sink at. You're going to be able to trap him. You're going to be able to wham him. You're going to be able to combo, whisker do's, whisker don'ts, every screaming memes, everything Joe Dierte said. You're going to be able to throw everything at him and make sure that he doesn't beat you. You're going to be able to give help to Ben Powers, I guess, they're just going to keep trotting him out there, I guess. But he's been getting his butt kicked a little bit. So I anticipate a lot of help there. Kuntz has cousins in Australia, lads.
Okay.
I'm
not sure that
but so
it's actually factual information, but
that Kuntz down under.
Okay.
Any
relation to Brian Kuntz?
But so this defense, I mean, Joe Hayden. They don't have Mike Hilton either, who is obviously on the Bengals now. Vince Williams, who has been one of the best kind of blitzing, run fitting, blitzing linebackers in the NFL, been a brick shithouse. Definitely kind of contained Lamar Jackson quite a bit in matchups past. He retired. So all of these guys that they had last year, not there. They've got Minka still. Devin Bush is like fighting for his motherfucking life. He's been having a bad season so far, especially in coverage. I kind of trickled through. I kind of sped read a couple games, tried to watch some defense mainly. I know what that offense is all about at this point. They have not changed much, but he's been struggling a lot. So it's struggle city. And what the Steelers like to do is the scrape exchange. Somebody crashes on Lamar. They don't want Lamar to beat them. And that's why we saw Dobbins and Edwards kind of wreck shop, bull in the China shop a couple times last year. And even prior to that, Gus Edwards has had some success. Mark Ingram had some success. So it's you're probably going to do the same thing. They're going to do everything they can to make guys like Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman beat them. And I know a lot of people want to see Devin Duvernay get more touches. That's just become the talking point. And it just feels like Greg Roman making comments about it, getting asked about it, saying he has stuff in the vault. Like, they're not going to give him the ball this week. There's no fucking way. They're not going to do any of it this week. They're not going to say that and then do it. That's not the way this world works.
No, and it kind of makes me question, like, if they're ever going to do it, because it just feels like in football a lot of the time, like it seems like the least obvious thing to do is what the coaches and decision makers do. It feels like what fans always point to is like the obvious draft pick to make or the obvious coach to hire is like what the organization never seems to do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it kind of feels in a much more micro viewpoint, maybe that's what we're going to see here. But yeah, it's not going to happen this week. I don't think you're probably right about that. Especially,
if there's an ideal time to start flirting with that, I feel like it's against the Bengals. I feel like it's second matchup against your definite best competition, really like remaining on your schedule in the AFC at this point, because it's just divisional games. But within your division, they already messed you up a little bit. Your run game couldn't really get going. And I just feel like you want to save it for the rematches. You need to add some wrinkles, put a little adobo on top, get some sea salt, and a little bit of cracked pepper, a little adobo, a little chipotle flakes. And that's when you want to throw that in there. So I would love to see it. I wrote an article about that today about how, he could turn into that J.K. Dobbins motion H running back, and they use him in the run game as someone explosive. But right now it's just like, to quote Nicolas Cage, I'm not going to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do and freak out. Not going to happen this week. No way.
Sounds like the I think you should leave Ghost to worst skit there. Do any of these fuckers? That's an underrated show. Well, it's probably not underrated at this point, but
not
pretty
underrated. Fun. Not underrated.
What were we talking about? Injury report.
I don't know. We're talking about Greg Roman not doing what everybody thinks he's going to do. Essentially,
he's probably not this week, but I don't know, Jim. Let's take a look at the statistics.
They're gonna want to run it through a motherfucker's face. The Steelers team has struggled to stop the run. The Bengals just absolutely decimated them. They probably don't have TJ Watt. I just listed they don't have Tua. They don't have Olulu.
24th in rush DVOA for Pittsburgh. Ravens are 8th, I believe, on offense and rushing.
Ravens. This is the thing. Ravens' run game is successful and solid. It's just not impressive. They don't have any, there's no 40-yard runs. They don't have Dobbins. They don't have Edwards. Freeman and Murray are getting first downs. I don't think Lamar has had a 15-yard carry since week 7 against the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been quite some time, but they continue to get first downs. They continue to be able to like drag on those drives we were talking about earlier, where it's like first down, first down, first down, first down, first down, field goal, stuff like that. So it's not this shitty situation. They're 8th in DVOA. I think they're 2nd in yards per game. They're like 7th or 8th in yards per carry. A lot of it is Lamar, yes. Freeman's done a nice job. Murray can go get first down. So I think they're going to try to run it through a motherfucker's face.
It goes back to we had this conversation a couple weeks ago where like it felt like every game, like it felt that Lamar was passing on every play, but then near the end of the third quarter, like somebody would tweet out and Lamar Jackson like crosses 100 rushing yards and be like, how the hell did that happen? And it's just like, it is, you're right. It is just kind of like, 3, 4, maybe a little bit more yards per clip. And it's just like kind of slowly adds up over the course of a game. And it's kind of feels like the same thing with their rushing attack where it's just Murray for 4 yards at best up the middle. It's Devontae Freeman with a little run to the outside and then a one cut. And then he gets up and maybe he picks up a first down, probably a little bit less than that. And that's kind of his big play. And then he gets spelled out for a couple plays and it just it slowly adds up. It's like paper cuts, but it does, to the point we keep going back to about the fact that it's working. It's like if you gain 4 yards on every single play, you're going to win every game. So.
And I watched like the NFL's preview of this upcoming matchup, and they're like, well, the Steelers' run defense stinks, but so does the Ravens' run offense. Last week in Cleveland, they ran 40 times for 160 yards. And it's like, that's not that bad. Like yards per carry, sure, the Browns definitely stuffed them like probably 5, 7, 8 times, but at the end of that game, they were sustaining drives, man, getting yards, picking up first downs. So that's just the limitation. That's the handicap they have right now. So that's why it's interesting to talk about Duvernay. Tyson Williams at this point, they're not going to use him until proven otherwise. So, that just feels like that ship has sailed until a desperate time calls for him or something. I don't know what the deal is there, but they don't want to use him. So they're not fucking doing it. And you can't make me. So I don't know what else to say on that one. He doesn't play a lot on special teams. They don't give him many touches, but there's some sauce in the wings. And again, it's just all these downfield shots that they have open that they just haven't been able to connect on. Lamar makes the miraculous 2 plays to Andrews almost in succession there, and then they so many missed opportunities downfield. And I just, it's time for them to start hitting on some. It's time for him to see things and let the ball fucking fly and keep his legs spaced out and do the damn thing. I don't know what else there is to say about it. The turnovers probably going to keep happening to an extent. He's turning the ball over a lot. I don't know what changes that quickly.
Yeah, I think to me, what I personally want to see, and I think I've been thinking this for a couple weeks at this point. I don't know if I've articulated it on the show yet, but it kind of feels like in a lot of these games, and particularly in the few that they've kind of come back in, namely Kansas City, Colts, Vikings, feels like they come out and get off to a slow start in the first half. And like part of that is the fact that they're trying to like force that big play through the air and they're doing these long developing things and X, Y, and Z. And then they're like in the second half, it's like, oh, well, we just adjusted and just started taking what the defense gave us and started going quickly and completing quick passes and going to the quick game. I'm kind of wondering why not just come out like that in one of these games? Why not just not huddle, not allow the defense to substitute, get some athletes on the field, just go quickly and try to get the ball in the hands of said athletes, quick dropbacks, quick passes, that whole thing. It feels like your offense is kind of already running that way anyway. So why not try to lean into it? I don't know. Maybe they are trying to do that and it's not working. Maybe it just isn't feasible from a schematic or a matchup standpoint week to week, but that's something I'd be interested to see them try at some point.
Certainly. And they want to impose their will a little bit at the same time in the first half. They want to make defenses respect the deep ball in the line of scrimmage and try and open up that middle of the field for Mark Andrews and things of that nature. So it'd be nice to see them get back to being able to hit some early, quick outside, speed outs or hitches or things like that to get in rhythm. I did like in the Browns game the amount of RPOs that were used. It felt like that helped Lamar get into a rhythm. He kept one, had a nice gain there, and felt like it created some nice, easy throws to Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman a couple times. So going to those early and often a little bit more so, and letting Lamar get into a rhythm that way and feel confident, feel the ball, feel the receivers, feel the grass, everything, get a feel for the game, feel for the pace, and use those early on. And The Browns had Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who played an outstanding game, and he's supposed to be the RPO stopper, and they were still able to have some success there. So we see, Tua Tagovailoa has had some issues and timing and things. Lamar's good as hell at throwing RPOs. So is Tua. So is Patrick Mahomes. So use those to his advantage a little bit. Let him tuck the ball. Let him hand the ball off. Get those RPOs early and often in the game, and it's gonna pay dividends.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, it does feel like a big time running game. It's time to get that thing going. To our point, so excited to see that from the offense. I would like to see the passing game get going to an extent, but maybe let's try to get that run game going and settle Lamar Jackson down a little bit, give him some easy looks off of play action, which I think despite what some of our friends on Twitter, who are apparently the smartest people in the world, I think you do maybe need to have a little bit of a run game going to get play action working. So hopefully we can see that happen this week. I'm curious about the other side of the ball. Like, what the hell are we going to see from the Steelers offense? Because I don't know what I've been watching the last couple of weeks. They come out, they don't look that great against I always want to say San Diego, but they don't look that great against the Chargers in the first half. Then kind of to that same conversation, it felt like they just started going quickly, playing with a little bit of urgency and leaning into the fact that Big Ben isn't going to throw it deep, just give him easy looks in the short to intermediate areas. They look good then, and then it just kind of unraveled against the Bengals. So I have no idea what to expect with this Pittsburgh offense versus the Ravens defense.
Well, speaking of RPOs, the Ravens have had 27 of them so far for 219 yards, throwing the ball at least. Obviously, there's some runs factored in there with Lamar Jackson as well. The Steelers, on the other hand, have had 50 of them. Ben Roethlisberger throwing 45. They used 5 for Mason Rudolph. So they are 29 for 45 on those, which is a very low completion percentage on RPOs. Supposed to be super high, supposed to create those easy throwing windows. 292 yards on 45 attempts. So they've been okay there, taking 1 sack, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So definitely a little bit interesting there. And then in terms of them being unable to get the ball deep, let's see, of quarterbacks that have had at least 59 deep, or excuse me, 20% of 59 deep passing attempts, Ben Roethlisberger is 15th in the NFL. He has completed 13 of 42 there for a whopping 31 completion percentage, 20 yards downfield. Just not slinging the deep ball well. He has to throw those meatballs. He has had 6% turnover-worthy throws there. He's had 6 of those total, had a couple drops, and just not able to really get the ball out. He actually has the quickest release time on deep balls of any passer in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus, averaging only 2.74 seconds to get the ball out over 20 yards. And then conversely, going to the other side of the wagon there, I mean, his passing depth overall, he has had 67% of his passes on the dot have been from behind the line of scrimmage up to 9 yards, which is the most in the NFL. He has had 10.9% of his passes deep, which is the second fewest in the NFL. And that intermediate range, he's sitting at about 17%, which is towards the middle. So just not really cooking with a ton of gas there. I mean, he throws those moon balls. It looks like he likes to throw them, mainly to the sideline, 14 to the left, 18 to the right. He's had a little more success to the right with 2 touchdowns, but just not completing those consistently. And it's like they kind of just have to take these quick, deep shots in order to back the defense up at all. And he has to get the ball out so early because he has no velocity. I will go as far as to say that I've seen a little bit more zip on the ball. It looks like on freaking computer screens the last couple weeks, but so immobile. It's like Barney freaking Flintstone playing quarterback at this point. It's hilarious to watch. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me laugh. And he can still make some passes. He can still get it done mentally a bit. But just as a Steelers fan, if you're a Steelers fan, I feel horrible for you for having to watch this offense. It sucks on ice.
It's not Peyton Manning in 2015, but you almost kind of wish it was that if you're a Steelers fan, I feel like, because that's the sign of like, okay, it's time to hit the reset button. I feel like the Rooneys, like God respect them and love them. They're a great ownership group and they do the right thing a lot of the time. But when you're so married to the idea of consistency that you've been sticking with this guy for so long, and I can understand why they sold themselves on sticking to Big Ben for at least another year, but it kind of looks like it's the time, and I think it looked like it's the time very clearly when the Steelers are trying to get back in that game last week, and he just drops back in their own end of the field and just absolutely just duck pins one to the left, and I don't know which Bengal it was. It just jumped the route easier than I think I've seen a pick six in a very long time. Takes it home, and that was kind of the end of that game. And that was just kind of an encapsulation of the fact that it's kind of like his mind is there still. Like his mind knows what he needs to do, but he just physically can't accomplish it. And in that way, it kind of is like Peyton in 2015, where he's still doing the Omaha and all the shit and like setting up the protections, but he just can't make the throws anymore. He just doesn't have the pop. So yeah, it is a tough watch, and I don't think we're gonna have to worry as much about him like shrugging guys off and like running out of the pocket, because he's always dealing with injuries now, even more so to an extent than he was before, and he's just old and immobile and out of shape, and it's tough. It's tough watching him right now.
Might be the highest paid American professional athlete in like the major four sports who like pretty much can't even really like fast jog. Like Tom Brady would cook him in a 40. Absolutely.
Were we talking about this at the tailgate? Were we talking about this at the tailgate last week, where it's like you watch them and it's just like, how can you not move faster? Like, what's going on?
And that was such a big part of his game when he was young, man. Like I think I said this last week when we were talking, like the two most impressive throwers of the football that I've seen live in my life are probably Aaron Rodgers, the last time he was in Baltimore quite some time ago, and then prime Ben, like Santonio Holmes Ben, back when he was a brick shithouse and could hang in the pocket, drag guys, break tackles, stiff arm and still throw the ball. And that was such a big part of his game, and now that's gone. So it's just it makes me uncomfortable to watch, but I also laugh. And it's not like a nervous laugh. Like I genuinely find it funny to watch them. And it makes me uncomfortable. It makes my skin crawl a little bit. Like some of the sacks he takes and stuff where it's like he starts trying to move towards the line of scrimmage and then someone just takes his legs out. I'm like, how are you getting up, Mr. Bootman? Wait a minute, Mr. Bootman. Yay. I don't know how he keeps going, but he does I kind of almost respect it. Like I don't – Joe Flacco is much more mobile than him at this point. Like it's very ridiculous to watch. It is like a parody of football.
You know what? How he does it is he survives off of the John Wayne-ification, the Paul Bunyan-ification of this franchise, and some of their most diva players, Brett Kiesel, Ben Roethlisberger. Give me a fucking break. You guys are not these, mountain men living out in your cabins, the old cowboy with the, 6-shooter on your hip. You are not this cowboy that you paint
Dirty Harry.
You're much more, you're not Dirty Harry. You're not Rooster Cogburn. You are not this mythical figure that's riding in on a white horse and saving the day this season, Big Ben. That's not you. That never was you. You're a diva, potentially not a great person. We don't have to comment on that right now. I certainly have in my past. I'm sure I will at other points, but that's not really the point that I'm making. More so, just let's stop with the mythologizing and the every time there's a little bit of a nick on me, I'm going to get the walking boot out. And there's a whole pardon my take joke about it, which that's just sort of that's the image of Ben Roethlisberger's career, is the walking boot. And like, maybe he's been hurt like in these cases. I'm sure he has, but he's just like, he'll be the first to tell you that, like, it's just really hard for me right now. I just don't know. And I think back to that game against the Jaguars where they get smoked at home 3-4 years ago at this point in 2017. And he has a terrible game and he goes into the locker room. Oh, well, maybe I just don't have it anymore. Oh, I'm just so like down in the give me a fucking break. You're still playing. It's 4 years later. And you had, you go into the locker room and you make this whole big show. Maybe I don't have it anymore. Maybe I should just, for the good of the franchise and the fans, I should just walk away. You guys probably don't want me anymore, right? And they just buy it hook, line, and sinker, and they bring him back with open arms, and this is what you get.
And then you have a Didi Kigabwala who is just making these tweets.
She is the number one perpetuator of this. She is his, like, Brian Windhorst. Like, she's going out there, like, she's his agent, basically, with this stuff.
It's insane. That area, there are two very.
I don't even think to that tweet now that you bring it up. That didn't even register in my mind, but that's
there's two vastly polar opposite areas of like Steelers fandom or coverage. And there's one half where it's like Ben Roethlisberger is John Wayne, Gary Cooper, Clint Eastwood, Eli Wallach, Kevin Costner, Henry Fonda, and Franco fucking Nero rolled up into one with a beard, with a rifle attached to his arm. The old man, the six shooter, Ben Roethlisberger is going to come back and lead you to glory. He's going to, just when you think that the town doesn't need the sheriff anymore, who's retired, oh, they do. And he comes back and kills the bad guys. And then there's the other ones that are like, please fucking help me. I can't watch this anymore. What is going on? What is this offense? These young men that Ben is playing with, like Tom Brady playing with like Chris Godwin and like Tyler Johnson and Leonard Fournette is more like natural than Ben Roethlisberger playing with like Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and these like young receivers. It's just like your stepdad teaching, like coaches your football team because your mom made him or something. It just has this awful dynamic to it overall. And it's scintillating to say the least.
I like, as much as I like get up on my pulpit and complain here, I'm gonna miss it. Like I love it so much. Like it's just funny being able to pick on them and like all the drama surrounding them and Claypool and Mike Tomlin just taking shots.
And blaming AB for an interception where he throws a pick to a fucking nose tackle.
Yeah, and then like Antonio Brown's like throwing a football at him, just going full like Joaquin Phoenix and the Master, just getting in a scuffle with him at practice.
You love Joaquin Phoenix and the Master.
I do, yeah. That's one of the great physical performances of all time. So see that movie if you haven't. But yeah, like in just an absurd locker room that they've had there. Like sneaky, not talked about. Like I like Mike Tomlin a lot, but like feels like he's kind of lost control a little bit more than he's being.
He might be the angry stepdad. Chase Claypool's like, come on, Dad, come on, Mark. Can't we just play a little music when we're doing chores? Mike Tomlin's like, I'm the one who's going to delegate the chores and you're going to fucking do them. So do what I say. I'm the one who gets paid I'm the one who brings home the bacon. I'm paid to run this house. This house is my house. And as long as you're under my roof, if you're not paying rent, you're not listening to no damn music during practice.
Which, for the record, I'm 100% on Mike Tomlin's side with that one. Chase Claypool seems like such a dork.
He's the epitome of like when I think of like a football player on like a good high school team, not a great high school team, but a good high school team, and like what they act like in the locker room and like what type of like spaz person who like can't pay attention in English class and like gets into trouble a little bit too much, always has something sassy to say back to authority figures. Like that is Chase Claypool. He's the epitome of like a douchebag football player, the absolute epitome of a douchebag high school football player. And it's pretty hilarious. Pretty hilarious at this point. He's like by himself now. I think Juju kind of like put him into that mind space a little bit, like felt comfortable in his own skin as a rookie. They win 11 games. He could go do all this stuff. And now he's just like that kid on the football team that everybody's like, dude, relax. Please just chill out one day.
Yeah, he's a tryhard. Like, it's like, what are we doing here? Chase, come on.
He'll probably go for like 120 and a tutty in this game. So
for sure.
I don't know, man. This offense is just... Everybody knows what it is. I don't even going back and trying to look through like their games and performances they've had. The Lions, the Lions have kind of secretly just been like holding the AFC North offenses in check. So you got to give them a little respect there, but they have not scored 30 points this season up against the Chargers. Pardon me. 2 weeks ago. So they've hit 30 once. They've been held under 20. 1, 2, 3.
I don't know if was a special teams touchdown in that game, but I think they blocked a punt and they basically got a touchdown off that. So
they've been held under 26 times and they've scored 30 once. So they're trying really hard, but it is a difficult procedure for the Steelers to manufacture scoring drives at this point. Everybody knows what they're going to do. They're going to run these underneath concepts. They're going to throw these quick screens. They want Deontay Johnson to go make somebody miss. Occasionally, they'll be able to hit a little slant or something towards the middle of the field and get a little bit of movement there. But, like, I mean, they struggled against the Seahawks a lot. Like, yards per pass, I think they're averaging like 6.6 yards per attempt, something like that. So it's just an absolutely anemic offense. The run game is stagnant. Whew. I don't know how they're going to score more than, let's say, like 16. 20 wouldn't shock me, just because, Ben, old Clint Eastwood will go grab that slick shooter and have some bullshit deep pass interference call, and then they'll be able to go score a touchdown like late in the third quarter or something. But oh man, they are just a funny mess to watch offensively.
They are. So with that, you mentioned points scored. Are we ready for prediction time?
Let's do it.
I think the Ravens are the better team. I think the Ravens have shown the potential to be able to score in the 30s this season that the Steelers, to your point, have not. I think Harbaugh's going to have a good message for them. Let's put the final nail in this coffin, not just on this season, but potentially on this era with this quarterback. Let's saddle up with the boys. Let's get on our own horses here. Let's get the repeaters cocked and ready to go, and the 6 shooters and the lassos, and let's go take John Wayne out for his last ride here. Let's end this thing and put the Steelers into a shallow grave. So I think it's going to be the combination of just enough of that, I should say, to get the Ravens out of here with a 27-23 victory.
Going through an article I read, Tomlin apparently had a little bit of pizzazz. Defensive lineman Chris Wormley said Tomlin's tone didn't change, but his words were more intense than usual. As a player and a man, you understand the situation and what he's trying to accomplish this week, which is to beat the Steelers. If that means he has to fire us up and get on our case a little bit, especially after Sunday's loss, that's what he's going to have to do. Joe Schobert said a lot of people were flying around and hitting. The pads were popping, so it was a good day of practice. Wormley noticed an uptick in intensity. Playing a rival with the pads on, you can feel of different schemes more so than just putting your hands on somebody without pads. The flow of practice seemed like there was more energy. It was fast-paced. So I think the Steelers have a little bit of piss and vinegar. They might be able to get some stops, but I think the Ravens are ultimately going to be able to put their shit together. The Steelers pass rush, especially without TJ Watt, not going to be able to generate a lot. They might have to blitz a lot. They might not have the horses to be able to pull off these pressure looks that other teams have had some success with against the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to go ahead and be able to have like 2 or 3 touchdown scoring drives. I think there's going to be 1 deep touchdown and 2 kind of nice drives. So put them at 21 there. And then let's kick a couple field goals, call it 27-16. I think the Steelers can manufacture 1 drive, score a touchdown, kick a couple field goals, and then towards the end of the game, they start having to go for it. And I think this Ravens defense is just flying around right now. They have the athletes. They have the ability to go beat guys up. Calais Campbell, hopefully coming back from that concussion, gives them that much more pass rushing juice with these outside linebackers we talked about, how well they've been getting after it. So I think this pass rush is going to be activated, and the Ravens walk out 9-3.
So it'll be a real big win, getting them to 9-3, and that will be a winning season.
A winning season.
After all that took place in the offseason training camp, pretty good. Pretty good. So we both have the Ravens going into Heinz Field and getting a W here on this Sunday. Is this a 1 o'clock or a 4 o'clock game?
4 o'clock game, 4:25 kickoff.
Are we going to Voss's house to watch this?
I hope so. We've been trying to invite ourselves to Voz's house. Hopefully he gets to this point in the podcast and realizes that he's supposed to invite us over for this game.
There's no chance that he ever hears this.
I have a signed Chris McAllister jersey. I've had it for like a month and a half or 2, just waiting to give to him. He said he needed one. And I tried, Voz, he's been editing. He's been a great friend to us. I was like, you know what? I was a little tipsy. I was like, you know what, Voz, I'll get you a Chris McAllister jersey. Just been sitting here. Like, I have it. I have it right here. Just been sitting here next to where I record. Signed Chris McAllister jersey, 21. The Ferrari boy himself, Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl 35 champ. Vaz, you better listen all the way through this podcast and then invite us over. That's all I have to say.
Well, you better, and I know you're not practicing of this faith, but better get yourself a frame there, player. It's that time of year. Put a nice little bow on that thing for our Greek. I don't think he's Greek Orthodox, but I think he is a celebrator of Christmas.
He's Grecian. He's just Grecian. That's how I think of him.
Sure. Well, I believe
the Greek god himself. So hopefully we can storm the Larico's household. If not, then we'll figure something else fun out. But I think that about does it for us. I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Zooboot. Zoo Boot wallets. RFID, aluminum, the bad boy, the goat, the Baltimore Beatdown podcast wallet, the finger slip, the money clip. It is Christmas season. It is gift giving season. And you can go get yourself a Zoo Boot wallet. You can get the Baltimore Beatdown podcast wallet or any Zoo Boot custom wallet. You can put any image on there. You can make it themed. You can just make it something that you like. Or you can make a picture of your dad's dog, your mom's cat, put it on a wallet for them. And you can get 15% off with the code podcast beatdown. Again, that is podcast beatdown for 15% off. Such a convenient wallet. So nice, so sturdy. Great material here. Take it to the gym. Take it for a run. Take it to the bar. Don't lose any of your cards. Don't worry about having to thumb through and finger through that big fat wallet. Go get yourself a Zoo Boot wallet. Again, that is code podcast beatdown for 15% off. And go, it's a nice stocking stuffer, Jim. I think you could really use that in a stocking stuffer for a nice present. I don't know. So go ahead, go use it, go get it to your people.
Absolutely, do. They're lightweight, slim, durable, good looking, sleek. All the things.
Sleek is the number one buzzword to use for these bad boys.
Yeah, definitely. Everything you look for in an RFID wallet, that is what they are. And we love them. And we love you. Thank you for listening. This was a fun one, as always. Good preview show. I think it's good to get back into the swing of things. We've had a couple of scheduling conflicts. It's been tough with the primetime games. I don't like traveling and shit that we've been doing the last couple of weeks, but back in the saddle, and we've had this one, and it was good. And we're gonna have another one on Sunday, and that's gonna be very good as well, I assume, because I'm predicting a W for the Ravens. And even if it's not a W, it's still gonna be good. Listen, that's what we're here for. Marlowe's cat for the win. Yes.
Throw that on the wallet. Snowflake.
Yeah, exactly.
See if Marlon puts a copyright on Snowflake's likeness.
Get Marlon's Bored Ape Twitter, Abby, and put that on the wallet.
Please put Marlon's Bored Ape on a Zoo Boot wallet and see what happens.
If you get that, I will personally purchase you a potentially authentic Marlon Humphrey jersey.
Potentially.
Maybe. Yeah. You will get a Marlon Humphrey jersey in the mail from me at no charge. Maybe shipping.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Get a Bored Ape Zoo Boot.
It has Marlon's Bored Ape off of his Twitter.
Marlon's Bored Ape off of Twitter. RFID Zoo Boot wallet, and you will get a Marlon Humphrey jersey in the mail from one Jake Luke.
Feel free also to inscribe it with any of his sayings that I like too. So appreciate it.
There's really only one saying.
There's a couple. I mean, the book
if you want to go with like what's an NFT going to do for a guy like me, that could really go places.
Yeah, you can put your own flair on it, your own piece of flair on it. I'm going to write a book one day and it's going to make no sense. That's another favorite of mine. Him holding up the cat on the Instagram story saying this thing is evil, yo. That one, Jonas texted that one to me. That was another good one. There's just a treasure trove of content with this guy. He's a content king, but so are we.
He just had one. I mean, the one that he had live here.
That was
That was a howitzer. That was
just picturing him walking around in a towel, like still wet, like just with the glow of his phone.
Like he can't even dry off because the lights are off. He's like, what am I supposed to do here?
Glow of his phone. It's like the first thing he thinks to do is go tweet about NFTs. Like, rock on, man. But yeah, okay. So that's enough Marlon talk. Thank you to everyone who tuned into the live show here on YouTube, and thanks to everyone who listens on the podcast as well. Thanks, by the way, to everyone who. Since you don't like links in the chat, Steve Ruiz made a video of Big Ben playing poorly in black and white with red. yeah, that was good. I think I have seen that. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who shot us Spotify Wrapped. That's always crazy.
Spotify listener, we love to see it. Appreciate everybody giving us some love there. Thank you guys.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like people spend like that many hours, and like for a lot of these people were like the top podcasts they listen to, which is pretty sick. I definitely had my my top podcast that I was on, and certainly it was not ours because I don't really listen to ours too often, but it's cool to see other people having us in their rotation to that extent. So thanks a lot for that. Very very heartwarming, very cool. We appreciate all your support and we love you guys. And with that, I can go ahead and get us out of here. Feel free to follow us on social media if you liked what you heard. At Podcast Beatdown is our Twitter account. I am at Jake Luke. That is LOUQUE. Spenny is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4 in the middle there. Have yourself a great weekend here, guys, and we will talk to you again early next week.
See ya.
Arrivederci.